I should have run the first night he whispered my name like a promise he had no right to make. But the truth is uglier. I wanted him to catch me. It was Chicago in early winter, the kind that slapped color into your cheeks and stole your breath, and I had just finished another late shift bussing tables at the diner on Halsted. I was exhausted, broke, and trying to forget the mess I'd made of my life when Adrian Hale walked back into it like a storm returning to claim whatever it had drowned. I hadn't seen him in 2 years. 2 years since he'd disappeared without a goodbye. 2 years since his last text had simply said, "Don't wait for me." Yet there he was, leaning against the brick wall across the street, hands buried in the pockets of his black coat, watching me with those fierce, unreadable eyes that had once made me feel chosen and hunted all at once. "Luca," he said, like the name scraped his throat. I wanted to scream at him, or laugh, or collapse. Instead, I said the stupidest thing imaginable. Great. So the ghost finally learned how to be corporeal. His jaw tightened, but his gaze didn't waver. He took one step toward me, and though nothing touched me, I felt his presence wrap around my ribs like a chain. "We shouldn't talk here," he murmured. "Not out in the open." That should have been my second warning. The first was the way my heart leapt before I could stop it. I crossed my arms. Why? Planning to kidnap me? His silence lasted too long to be comforting. Adrian and I had always walked the thin line between devotion and danger. He was an alpha, not just in the biological sense that shaped his scent, his instincts, the way people unconsciously moved aside for him, but in the way he carried his grief and rage like a second skin. I'd fallen for him anyway, or maybe because of it. Back then, I thought I could love him into something gentle. I thought I could be enough. I was wrong. He finally spoke, voice low. "Luca, please, just get in the car." I almost refused. I should have. But when he opened the passenger door of the black SUV, warm air spilling out into the cold night, something in my chest cracked open. A memory, a habit, a longing. I slipped inside. The city blurred past us in streaks of gold and red. For a while, neither of us spoke. Adrian's hands gripped the wheel like he was holding himself together through brute force. His scent, familiar and sharp, filled the car and rushed straight to my bloodstream, stirring things I thought I'd buried. "Where have you been?" I asked finally. He let out a rough breath. "Keeping you safe." I laughed, bitter. "From what? Yourself?" He didn't answer. He didn't deny it either. We drove to a high-rise overlooking the river, the kind of place I knew wasn't his usual style. Adrian grew up rough. He never cared about showing off, which meant this place had a purpose, a reason. My skin prickled. When the elevator doors opened on the 17th floor, I stepped out first. The apartment was minimalist, dim, and too quiet. A place designed for hiding, not living. I turned. "Why am I here?" Adrian closed the door behind him. "Because someone is looking for you, Luca. Someone dangerous." I frowned. "Who?" He hesitated, jaw flexing. "The same people who came after me 2 years ago." A cold fist gripped my spine. The night he disappeared, he'd never explained it. Not fully. Not enough. I thought it was fear of commitment, fear of himself, fear of us. I didn't know there were others involved. "And now they want you," he added quietly, "because they know you were the only thing I couldn't walk away from." My pulse hammered. That isn't my problem anymore. He stepped closer, and I felt the air shift. "It is now. They'll hurt you to get to me." I swallowed hard, heart racing as the truth settled like ice. "So what? You're locking me up here?" His expression twisted with something like regret. "I'm keeping you alive." Adrian's version of alive and mine had never matched. I moved toward the door. "I'm leaving." He caught my wrist. Not hard, not painful, but firm enough that I froze. The touch sent a jolt through me, an echo of every night we'd spent tangled in sheets. Every morning I'd woken up pressed against him, while sunlight crept across the floor. "Luca," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. "Please don't do this." Something fragile inside me trembled. "You don't get to say please. You don't get to act like you care now." He exhaled sharply, pained. I never stopped caring. That was the problem. Before I could respond, He pulled away and stalked toward the window, running a hand through his hair. He looked tortured, furious with himself, desperate. And despite everything, my heart ached for him. "Why now?" I asked quietly. "Why come back for me?" He turned, and for the first time his mask cracked. "Because I thought staying away would save you. But I was wrong. And I won't lose you again." His voice broke on the last word. I closed my eyes. God, I hated him for making me feel like this. And God, I loved him anyway. Adrian stepped toward me, slow, deliberate, as if he was afraid any sudden movement might send me running straight into the night. I hated that he understood me so well. I hated that even after everything, my pulse still reacted to him like he was the only familiar language I'd ever learned. "You don't have to be afraid of me," he said quietly. I let out a humorless laugh. "I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of what you do to me." His eyes softened, just a flicker, before the hardness settled back in. "Then let me fix it. You can't fix something by locking it in a cage, Adrian." He flinched, not visibly, but enough for me to feel it. He wasn't the kind of man easily wounded, which made that tiny crack all the more disarming. "I'm not caging you." "Really?" I gestured around the apartment. "This looks like a cage. Feels like one too." He took a deep breath, voice rough. "You're right, but this is temporary. I need time to deal with the people chasing us. And I don't trust them not to come for you first. Then let me help." His answer was instant and sharp. "No." I stepped closer to him, anger and longing coiling thick in my chest. "You don't get to decide what I can or can't do. Not anymore. Luca," he murmured, "your involvement is what they want. Your leverage. A weakness. A weakness." The word hit harder than it should have. I swallowed the sting. "Good to know what you really think of me." He cursed under his breath, stepping quickly toward me. "That's not what I meant. But it is what you said." He didn't argue. That silence alone told me everything. We both knew I had always been the soft part of Adrian's life, the vulnerable place he tried to armor with distance and violence. But being someone's weakness wasn't the same as being loved. I'd learned that the hard way. I turned away, walking toward the door. "Luca." His voice cracked. "Don't." I paused with my hand on the doorknob. "If you really love me, Adrian, you can't keep me here out of fear. Love without choice isn't love. It's prison." The words hung in the air, heavy and trembling. For a long moment he didn't move. I heard only his breathing, uneven and raw. Then slowly, painfully, he said, "If you walk out that door, they will kill you. Then teach me how not to die. Don't chain me. Stand beside me." He exhaled like the world was breaking open inside his chest. When he spoke again, his voice was barely more than a whisper. "I can't lose you." I turned around, then stopped trying to. For the first time since he'd returned, the steel in his eyes began to melt. He stepped closer, almost cautiously, like I was a wounded animal he wasn't sure would bite or collapse. "I'm not afraid of them," he said softly. "I'm afraid of loving you wrong again." Something inside me tightened painfully, then loosened all at once. "Adrian," I whispered, "loving me isn't the danger. Lying about it is." He reached out, stopping just short of touching my cheek. His hand trembled. Adrian Hale, who faced down entire crime syndicates without blinking, trembled for me. "I don't deserve you," he said. "Maybe not. But you have me anyway." His breath hitched. And then, after a heartbeat of hesitation, he closed the distance between us. The kiss wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, like he'd been starving for 2 years and finally tasted water again. His hands cupped my face as if grounding us both, and I gripped his coat, pulling him closer until there was no space left between us. No lies, no fear. Only the truth of what we'd both tried to bury. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. "Tell me what you want," he whispered. "I want you, but not like this. Not behind walls, not because we're scared. I want us to fight for our future, not hide from it." His forehead touched mine. "Then we fight. Together." The next days were a quiet, fragile truce. Adrian taught me how to watch for tails in crowds, how to disappear in seconds, how to read danger in the slightest shift of a stranger's gaze. He didn't hover. He didn't cage me. He let me stand beside him. And slowly, the fear that used to choke me loosened. One night, the threat finally came. We were walking by the river, the city alive around us. Neither of us noticed the black sedan until the doors slammed open. Adrian shoved me behind him, shielding me with his body as 3 men approached. "Stay behind me," he growled. But I didn't. Everything he'd taught me in the past days flashed through my mind. When one of the men lunged, I dodged, grabbed the weapon at his belt, and swung hard. Adrian took down the second with brutal efficiency. The third ran. Breathing hard, adrenaline still surging, I looked at Adrian. "I told you I could help." He stared at me, chest rising and falling, eyes blazing with something fierce and beautiful. "I know," he said, "and I'm proud of you." He pulled me into his arms, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid of how tightly he held me. For the first time, his embrace didn't feel like chains. It felt like home. Weeks later, after the danger had finally passed, Adrian took me back to the rooftop where everything between us had once fallen apart. The wind was cold, but he was warm beside me. "I thought loving you made me weak," he admitted, "but it made me human, and maybe that's stronger than anything else." I took his hand. "What now?" He smiled softly, a rare, unguarded thing. "Now we build something new, not a cage, a life." And standing there, with the city glowing beneath us and his fingers intertwined with mine, I finally believed him. Because love wasn't the prison. Fear was. And together we'd finally broken free. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.